So, welcome to our off the court semi-final special. I actually can't believe we're here already. I say it every year. I think it's just because I'm getting old that the netball season flies by. But we're here, the final four, and our first ever attempt at doing a head-to-head. So, who better to get on the feisty wing defences from Severn Stars and Manchester Thunder? Welcome to the show, Niamh Cooper and Taylor McKevitt.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Hello, hi, thanks for having us on.
That's right.
And wing defence battle over here.
I'm loving it. We're going to go blow for blow, intercept versus deflection. We're also going to go who's been to the best gigs, Taylor Swift or... Yes, Taylor?
I guess I've already won that one. Can't beat Taylor Swift.
Niamh, have you got any Taylor Swift gigs lined up, Eras Tour?
I don't, but it's big talk in the Severn Stars camp though, because Ziggy Berger has a ticket. I know, and there is a bit of chat about whether or not she's actually the biggest Swiftie and whether she deserves to have the ticket, but she's going, so.
Oh wow! Well, the fighting talk has already begun. Fine, I am gonna give round one to Taylor because she's actually been. But I tell you what, if you can get Ziggy at training, Niamh, and get that ticket offer, then I'll give you another point. But listen, we'll get straight into the netball chat. Taylor, I'll start with you. Manchester Thunder, your second season with them. It was no sort of surprise that you returned to Thunder. It was kind of where you always said you wanted to play. Unbeaten this season. Just how special has it been to be in that group this year?
Yeah, I think obviously Thunder is a team which I grew up in. It's very much, I refer to it as kind of like my home team. And I think when I came back last year, it was a bit of a reshuffling because a load of people had left, and it was kind of like a building year, and we were very happy to come third, but especially with the team that we've recruited this year, we're very much pushing for that gold medal, and it's a super exciting group. All of the new additions which we've had have all added so much value on the court and kind of off the court as well. It's been super fun. And also it's nice to, win matches as well.
Yeah, winning helps. Being unbeaten does help, especially going into finals. Niamh, I'll come to you then with Severn Stars. So I think it's also fair to say they're a special group. You've kind of got the underdog tag. I've been there before. I know Taylor's been there at Sirens as well, that you get the extra fan base, the teams that kind of go, right, we want Stars to go and smash it in finals now. You haven't gone unbeaten all season. You've lost 6 games, but you've still consistently challenged the top teams, and you've made it in the top 4 in your own right. How has it been to be in that environment this season?
Yeah, I agree. I think Stars is, I think we're sort of known as the bunch of weirdos, which I think is probably a term that was picked up last year by the team, and then the girls that have joined are probably weird in our own right. And I think that's what's really special about this group. I've been talking to a few people about it actually in the last week, that there's a real acceptance of everybody and their differences within Stars, and I think that's what allows everybody to thrive. So everyone has a uniqueness, and to allow everybody to sort of bring that out, I think just brings out the best part of everybody. In terms of the losses, we had the goal for Stars this year very much was to come fourth, to be in semi-finals was our goal, and we'd be very open in saying that. Now, once you've got to it, then obviously you want the next thing, you want a medal, you want to win the thing, you're this far now, and that's the new goal. But I think the losses have taught us an awful lot about us as a team as we went along. The one that really stands out to me is that Cardiff Dragons beating us. I think it was maybe around 5 or 6 or something, and I was devastated. Actually, there was no talking to me for about 2 weeks after that game because I was raging, mostly because Liam Middleton plays in the team, and I had to go and stay at her house afterwards. But that game, it was only by a goal, I think, or 2 goals, but we didn't play particularly well, and we learned an awful lot about ourselves and how we responded to pressure, and it forced us to really look at ourselves and change a few ways that we do things and our structures and our processes around certain things. So I do genuinely believe that we might not have went on to win some of the very important matches against those other sort of 58th teams had we not have had that loss. So as we've went through, yes, it would have been nice to be sitting pretty at the top, having not lost a game, and that in itself is an incredible achievement. But for us, being a team that hasn't ever made finals before, I think it was nearly important to have gone through those in order to actually get there in the first place. All part of the weird journey, I suppose.
I totally hear what you're saying. It was really interesting actually listening to you talk about that whole idea that that loss against Celtic Dragons and how gutted you all were. Look, when you're a quality side, when the other WhatsApp groups around the league go, oh my God, did you see Stars got beaten by Cardiff Dragons? And you take that as a massive compliment, right? And you guys, I absolutely agree, to go through those situations, to change your structures, to understand where you're going to get attacked and be beaten. It all helps you in building into the top four. And look, you won't be the first team to sneak into the finals and still do well out of it. But we'll get to the fighting talk a little bit later. I wanted you both on because arguably you're up against the best two wing attacks this season. So Jess Shaw for Severn Stars and Nat Metcalf, obviously, for Manchester Thunder. Taylor, I'll start with you then. You have an impact role in this team and you've been very, very good at it. So let's start firstly with what training looks like. Do you analyse the wing attacks? Is that something that's thrown at you? Is it something you chat through with Greggy? Is it just more about your game? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so I think this year is a bit different to last year because this year we've brought Laura Malcolm into the role as a technical coach. So it's very much Karen will do performance analysis for the attack side, Gabs will do the circle defence, and then Malks will do the centre wing defence stuff. And that's actually been such a crucial role this year, having one of the best, wing defences, doing all the analysis. Not all of them, obviously we do our own as well, but Malks is such a technical and smart person. So it very much starts and is led by her. And then we'll have specific training that week, kind of the game plan will change team by team. We always try and keep our own kind of Thunder style of play, so we don't completely change everything we're doing week on week, but there's just a couple of little things that will change depending on who we're playing.
Cool. I want to just touch on that impact piece then, because I mentioned Imogen Allison there, and you knew when signing, and that's really important. It's going to be even more important when the squads go to 10. You know when signing what role you're going to play, and you've just absolutely embraced it. You come on like a fire rocket, you just release, and it's right, I'm going to win this ball, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I mean, how hard has it been to get your head around that you are impact, but also how much have you embraced it? Because it looks like it's just become a natural part, and I think youngsters almost have to understand it's kind of part of the game now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it is different, shifting your mentality from, being a starting 7 player to now your role changing a little bit differently and being the impact player. But I think ultimately, I think what is so beneficial is being able to sit and watch what's happening on court. And then when I do get the opportunity to come on, I feel like I've seen what's been happening. I know where the wing attack's going. I know what Imo's been doing that's been working really well. So I feel like it allows you to come on with a bit more impact because you've actually been able to sit and watch the game. And ultimately I think even as younger players, maybe they're potentially not happy with doing a bit of time on the bench and things like that, but I think as you get older you understand that your role can change within your team and it's not the end of the world. And I think because ultimately at Thunder we are all enjoying playing in this squad so much, and Karen is very good at utilising the bench as well. Even she always tries to give players the opportunity to get on, and she rewards players with different starts against different combinations, so you never just think, oh, that's just me, I'm just going to be on the bench forever. She gives everyone the opportunity to play and everyone the opportunity to fight, which is also really good.
Yeah, I think you can tell that, and it helps with the quality you've got across the court as well. You've got such a tight unit there. Niamh, I'll come to you then. You will probably most definitely be starting in that semi-final matchup versus unless something drastically changes, I'm going to guess that's the case. You're up against Nat Metcalf. I mean, individually that is a tough ask for anybody in the world, but how comfortable do you guys feel, because your game's really come on working with the unit, and I think Joe Tripp's been all about the defensive unit.
Yeah. I think for us, everyone's seen the 2 matches that we've had against Thunder before, and the style that Thunder put out there. The fact that they can change the style so quickly is something that I suppose we've had to really look at and work on, because the ability, obviously, to go from a moving circle, which there isn't really as good a moving circle anywhere else in the league, possibly even the world, to be honest, and then to switch that up and put a hold and shooter in and have a more traditional approach. You really have to think as a defender, where do I want them to land this ball based on where what's going on in the circle, and where do they want them to be feeding from, where is the opportunity to win ball in this, and those short passes, like their hard work trying to figure out outside the circle. I'll be honest. So hopefully that's something that we're able to fix up between the last time we played you guys and now. But yeah, Nat, I mean, she's world class. Like there's no taking away from that. And I think for me and anyone else that goes on and plays wing defense against her, it's probably just like a brilliant opportunity to try yourself against what's probably the best wing attack in the world. Now, I'm biased and I think we have one of the best wing attacks in the league in our setup, and so I get to play against her every week in Jess. But getting to go out against Nat, I mean, I've played against her quite a few times now, so I sort of know what it involves, but she's always improving and never, I think the thing with her is that she never actually stops. So trying to stay with her for potentially 60 minutes is, it's a week-long challenge in the lead up to it, let's be honest. But one I definitely relish.
Let's talk about the culture then, because I think you two, your teams are quite envied across the league in terms of how close you all are. I'll start Taylor then, because we have to talk about TikTok Queen. Firstly, I need to know what's going on this week. Are we going to get something big, exciting for the semis?
So me, Emma and Paige, we're in dance rehearsals this week. So there will be a nice video coming out for that. But yeah, it's a combination with the TikToks. It's like sometimes we'll just randomly have an idea and film it, but then sometimes it's like, okay, no, dance rehearsals, we need progress reports. But no, it's all a bit of fun really. But yeah, like you say, I feel like our team really does get along off the court, and I feel like people can see that as well, and also from stars.
And talk about how that role kind of happens, because I like have lots of issues with culture, how people talk about it, because people want an answer, they want a solution. How do you get this culture? How did you all find your roles in Thunder? Like, at what point are you like, hey Paige, do you want to dance with me? Like, what happens?
Yeah, I don't really know. I feel like we just kind of fell into it a little bit. Like, I think, especially in kind of pre-season and stuff, we do a lot of kind of like socials off the court, or like just kind of get-togethers. And they don't need to be like big things. Like, let's say we've got a pre-season like fixture, we might just like grab a coffee, go for brunch, like just kind of little things like that. And like, I actually didn't know Paige before this year, and I feel like now we're just like one of the closest of friends. So I think friendship wise that really helps develop it, and also I feel like your captain plays a really important role in things. Like, Nat is one of the like best captains I've ever had. She is obviously so friendly, such a person that you could go to with anything, and she really helps like drive that team culture. But yeah, I don't know if anyone else has had the pleasure of being captained by her, but she's actually amazing.
I mean, I coached her and I absolutely loved having her there. She is a gem. She's an absolute gem. I don't think anybody needs to hear how much I love Nat anymore, but I do. So, Niamh, let's talk about stars then, because you can see real similar themes through that. Like, we know Ziggy's got a huge personality, which I absolutely adore. But I love like just the other things that I've seen this season. So before Loughborough, you were all together, you were all sort of laughing, joking, you had your little routine before you all went onto court. But I think what was most important to me was seeing how you regrouped after half-time, after the quarter that wasn't great. And I was like, I wonder what they're going to do here. And these are the things I'm always looking at, going, are these real final contenders or not? And you regrouped and absolutely went and smashed it. Just talk to me about some of those moments. And is it purely led by Joe Tripp, or are there other people in there?
No, I think, no, don't get me wrong, and I agree with what you're saying, Taylor, about it being from the captain, and I think it's a mixture at stars, definitely, about the example that's set out by Joe and Gabby, and obviously like Joe and Gabby have played together for years through Mavs and stuff, so have sort of come from what I would imagine is similar values, and the way that they behave at the top has really much as very much, I think, filtered down through the group. And so there's like an expectation of like what's allowed, what's accepted. And that pretty much is anything. So if someone does something a bit funny, everyone kind of just laughs at it. And there's a real openness to allow yourself to do it, because you're not thinking, oh goodness, like half the team think I'm a bit weird. You know, like Ziggy's doing burpees before she's doing her shooting warm up, and everyone just kind of doesn't bat an eyelid. You know, that's the norm. And we do like an on three is like a dance thing that we do before we come on, before we play a match or before training or anything. And I think it's used as a hands in, but it also kind of just settles everyone, and I think really connects us, and is just in general a little bit of crack. But in terms of where the standards are driven from, I do think that it comes across the board. There's an awful lot of leaders within the group. Jess Shaw and Betsy both actually are real drivers of a high standard in terms of work ethic in training in match court, and Betsy is an impact player but is very, very vocal when it comes to half time and quarter times, and in such a positive way. There was a match, it was the Mavs game, and we were down at half time. We needed to win that game to get into top four.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And she had really stern words in the changing room. You know, she said, look, girls, like, we want to be on the court and you just look like you don't want to be there. So, like, get your act together. And it really resonated with me. I was like, oh, yeah, you're right, actually. Like, let's go and do this thing. And that didn't necessarily happen at the weekend. I think what happened at the weekend was a little bit different. It was very much like, look, what's happening on court and the players that are on there it isn't really working. And then we're going to trust in the bench players, and they're going to come on, like what you said, Taylor, earlier. They've watched the game, they've seen what's happening, and they went out and full trust was in them, and they did brilliantly and really clawed the game back to a much more respectable scoreline, I think, in the end. But that whole trust within the group, I think, very much comes from the fact that it's very obvious that Joe trusts everybody, that there's an acceptance of everybody and what they bring and the differences that they bring. So, like, what I do at Wing D is very different to what Ella Powell-Davis will do at Wing D. What Betsy does at Shooter versus what Ziggy does is very different. And there's such a support from the players either way. So, like, when Ziggy comes off, like, you've seen her, she's like,
she doesn't
she's like
stop
a horn
talking
on the side. You know, she's the biggest supporter of Betsy when she goes on, and vice versa. So having that isn't something that you get in every team. I've been in multiple teams where there can be a little bit of jealousy or a little bit of I suppose tension between the bench players and the players playing, and that's not the case at Stars. And I think it allows us to change games around whenever it's not going right in a really positive way.
Yeah, I'd agree. You guys have got Ziggy, and Taylor, you've got Josie. And I've worked with Josie a long time, and she is also key on or off the court. You never not hear her. Listen, you talk about individuals, which I love, because, you know, the players I wouldn't necessarily know. When you haven't worked with them, you don't know what impact they bring. But you also talk really highly about your coaches. So there's Joe Tripp, you talked about Laura Mouse. Taylor, if you could describe Greggy in 3 words, how would you describe her?
Oh, I feel like I need time to think. I don't know. She's watching it. The signing window is coming up soon. Amazing. Yeah, my favorite. I would say Karen is. She actually is, and she's really fun. Yeah. She's also, like, serious when needs to be. Yeah. And also she really cares about the players. Like, I feel like she's got very good people management. Like, she doesn't just see us as, like, I don't know, like, products. Like, she actually really cares about us as individuals.
Yeah. I mean, I know Greggy in lots of ways, and it's funny, right? Because when you talk about the best coaches around, like when we spoke about Dan Ryan, it was, he's really good fun, but he's also super serious, and he also gets the players. And I think those things sound so strange when you put them together, but it's the moments, it's knowing when. So let's turn our attention then to the semi-finals, because that's what we're here for. We cannot wait. By the end of June, we'll know who the 2024 champions are, but we got what I always call the worst day of the year to come up first, because it's like the best day in terms of if you win it. It's the worst day if you don't, right? It's a tough one. Now, this is, both of you are in your second final series. So Niamh, you were with Storm last year. They made semis. Taylor, you were with Thunder for that first year. You both ended up in that third, fourth playoff. So clearly we wanted to go one better. Taylor, I want to link back to that sort of pressure and that, what you kind of talk about with Greggy there. You guys are unbeaten. You've scored the most amount of goals and let in the least amount of goals. You are favourites. Like, if I was going to put on my commentator hat, pundit hat, I'd be like, Thunder are the team to beat going into this season. How do you go forward with that?
Yeah, it's a big one, because with the squad we have this year, like, we know a lot of people would put us as their favourites, which is like a huge compliment. But I think we don't really too much think of the pressure of the other people. It's more the pressure we put on ourselves. Like, we obviously want to win and we want to perform, but we want to make sure we're performing, like, for each other, and all the hard work we've all done for each other this season, and all the hard work the coaches have put into us this season. And like you say, like, 60 minutes can, like let's say this next game can make or break. But I think it's just like going back to our processes, and also like I feel like the leaders in the team, like the Nats, the Josies, the Shads, all of them, I feel like they're really good at grounding us and being like, I know there's a lot going on, but like there's 12 of us here, let's stay connected, let's just put in the hard work for this next 60 minutes, do what we know we can do, and we'll make it through in one piece.
In one piece. I like that little add-on as well. Niamh, for you guys then, like we said, it's slightly different. You're coming in as underdogs. You've learned a lot. You've had some losses this year, which you've had to back up on. But you go into this knowing how it felt last year, and you can't shy away from that. And I always say, like, your experiences are built. So you don't know finals until you know finals. You don't know what a semi-final loss feels like until you've been in that moment. I guess my first question is, and it's a different team, but if you could have replayed the Storm semi-final last year, was there anything you would have done differently? And would there stuff you could take into this that you learned from a whole team perspective, I guess?
It's difficult because I think there with Storm last year, and I played a very different role within Storm last year, and that I was probably more an impact player, very very much a heavy bench player, but there was an awful lot of focus on it for loads of weeks leading up to, because we were confirmed semi-finalists quite early on last year, and I don't know whether that actually built quite a heavy pressure on us. And despite losing Peace, we were still quite high favourites to do well. So it feels like a very different position this time. We probably only really turned our focus to semis in the last week. And I think that's a positive, because there hasn't really been the same pressure of like, oh God, everyone expects us to win. Versus with Storm, I think there very much was like, we're sorry, Storm, we've won before, we're back where we were meant to be. Whereas this is Star's first time, and a lot of the focus has been on like, wow, we've actually already made history, how amazing. We're in the semi-finals, let's go and enjoy it. Because one thing that we've very much learned about ourselves, even so much in the last few weeks, is that like Stars play well when we're having fun, and that is definitely been a theme in the wins. And in the losses, everyone's been flat or full of tension or worry. And so I think the focus in the last 2 weeks has been like, how do we make sure that we're being our normal fun selves? And that's probably been more of a focus, which was very different to probably the focus for Storm last year. And I think it's reasonably so, simply because it was probably two very, very different teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's probably how we're approaching it. And it's definitely something I've learned as I've got older, because I think if you take it all a bit too seriously, it just gets a bit too much, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, you do. You have to look. I always say it. The cherry on top is the win, but it's the only thing you're playing for. You're in for a very disappointing career, because not everybody gets to do that, and you're all after the same goal. I think what you picked up on there is that you've not had as long a run into this knowing. Taylor, that's the opposite for you guys. You've pretty much known from flipping game one, I think, that you guys were going to be in the finals. No surprises there. But talk to me about what this training weeks looks like then. For us on the outside that just get to reminisce now how good semi-finals are, and for those that have never experienced it, what does it look like now? Is it all just fresh start? Is it the same sort of rituals? What does it look like?
Oh, sorry, was that to me? It broke up there.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I'll do that again. Can you hear me now? Yeah, perfect. So, Niamh, coming off the back of that, you can sort of see that this whole idea that you've not had much time to think about it is actually a positive. For Taylor, for you guys, it's very different, because you've known for weeks. I think from the first game of the season, I knew you guys were going to be in finals. So it's a different kind of vibe. But what does training look like this week now for someone who's been there, done it, about a long time ago, for people who've never been in those situations? Is this back to the drawing board? Is it the same old? Like, what is your big week going to look like?
For me?
Oh, sorry, for Taylor.
Yeah, so I think this week, similar to what Niamh said, about how, like, even though we've been in the semis like for a little while, we actually take each game week on week. So like last week we were so focused on Rhinos, and the week before we were so focused on Sirens. So we only really have this week to kind of focus on it, which I think is good, that it's not like looming over your head for like week on week. But yeah, this week we will just be like consolidating what we know we're good at in attack and what we know we're good at in defence. And then there might be like one or two little things of Stars' game plan that we've analysed that we might tailor little bits to, but ultimately it's kind of like consolidating the Thunder way, and yeah, just making sure we're all pushing each other in training, because we know we're gonna definitely get pushed on the weekend, so that has to kind of start in at training. We got to feel it now, so we're prepped kind of for the weekend.
And Niamh, as you head into that changing rooms, Who gets last say? Like, what's the thing? Is it a song? Is it a statement? Is it captain? Is it coach? Like, what happens? Talk me through those last moments before you walk out into the court.
So it's actually Betsy Creek that runs the end.
Ah.
Yeah. So we actually we have a chant up the stars, which came from a not so nice chant when we had to travel to Sirens and we got caught up with a lot of Celtic fans. So we'll let the imagination run with that. But the girls, I don't think realised or understood the concept of that. But up the stars came out of that. And we now do that in the changing room, kind of in like a one side of the changing room versus the other side of the changing room. And kind of I suppose get ourselves a bit hyped with that. So I think that's probably what we'll. Sorry, I don't know if I broke up there.
No, fine. Go on.
That's more like I think we've been doing that now for about since we played Sirens away. So that will definitely happen again. It's become kind of our trademark. Actually, it was really nice. We were at the Loughborough match at the weekend, and like there was quite a lot of Stars fans there, and they've obviously picked up on it. And there was big signs saying, "Oh yeah, up the Stars." So it's become our new thing. So that'll definitely happen in the changing room and be the last say before we leave.
Perfect. Well, the next time you two are going to see each other is on the court at the weekend. We are very much looking forward to it. Taylor, any last fighting words for Niamh before you hit the court?
No, I guess Thunder. We've not lost to Stars in recent history. I don't see a reason for that to change.
I love it. And can you just confirm the drum will be there at the weekend? Is that right?
There will be multiple drums, probably. They've probably invested in some new drums.
Perfect. And the bear, hopefully the bear. Niamh, your opportunity then. Any last words for Taylor before you see her out there?
I think we probably have as many fans as the Celtic supporters do now. Yeah, I think we're everyone's favourite underdog. So as much as we've lost the last 2 games, has to happen sometime. So hopefully this weekend's our weekend.
I love it. I mean, I might have to get you two in a ring to get a bit more fight out of you, but I will take those answers as the final piece. Listen, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for sharing all the nuggets with us. A lot of the talk this year on the podcast is just hearing some of the personal stuff that people don't get to witness. And so to share that is absolutely invaluable to all of our listeners. So thank you very much. Good luck this weekend. I will end with let the best team win. And I'm looking forward to calling it. So good luck. Enjoy because it is a special time and we'll see you on the courts.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Well, we are here with our second matchup of Off the Court, and I think I'm allowed to say it out loud, but I'm pretty excited about this semi-final. Loughborough Lightning versus London Pools. Loughborough snuck over the line and got their home semi-final, which I'm sure our next guest will be very happy about. So the matchup are our 2 mid-court sensations, both instrumental in their team, both on and off the court. But kind of fair to say they're at different ends of the spectrum in their careers at the moment. So welcome London Pulse's centre, Izzi Phillips, and Loughborough Lightning centre, Nat Pannagary. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Now, I know you won't take offence when I say different ends of the spectrum. You're slightly more seasoned, I would say, in this netball league. Just for context, Izzi's in her debut season with London Pulse, but Nat, for you, you just celebrated your 150th game. We got to witness that live on Sky. And you've been, well, that was just for Loughborough Lightning. So I think there's a few more to add on to that. Yeah, I mean, do we even have the records of that?
I think I'm like 170 currently, maybe now. Yeah, that's what I'm at.
I know Rachel Dunn tried to get all the records of hers, and we were literally looking through programs and going through, like, it's impossible. I know. She must have been way over 200, I reckon.
Yeah, but it just seems like back then that didn't really happen, did it? I think our team manager, Millie, has started doing it for us, which I think is so lovely for us actually to be able to celebrate. Yeah. But I suppose, people like Rachel Dunn, it must be 250, surely, come on.
Absolutely, she never missed a game. Well, that just kind of shows where we're at in our old age. We won't reminisce about the past too much, but this has kind of become a regular thing for Loughborough Lightning, hasn't it? This consistent, we just make finals.
Oh gosh, well, yeah, I feel really lucky to say that we've been involved in so many, and I suppose it does come down to, I think, from Karen Atkinson time and Liv Murphy and everything they instilled in the culture and what they brought kind of when I first arrived about 8 years ago, and I suppose ever since then we've managed to make that top 4 and have that spot. So I think for us as the girls, we never take anything for granted, and being involved in this week is exactly what you want to do. You want to be in finals, you want to keep going, you want to experience it as players, and it's what you're working forward to all year round. So yeah, I think for us, none of that is taken for granted. And even at training kind of yesterday and this morning, we're all still enjoying it and kind of feeling that buzz from finals week.
Yeah, I used to say that with some of our teams. It became just like a regular thing. So you didn't plan your trips because you kind of presumed you were going to be in there, and the summer training carried on. And it's a nice place to be in. It's probably slightly different for you. There's a couple of things here.
A little bit.
a little bit. Now, firstly, I had to drag you away from your A-level exams, which we're not going to go into, but that just kind of shows where we're at here. And secondly, this is your debut season in the Super League. Before I get into the finals thing, just talk to me about this whirlwind year.
Well, I feel like that's exactly how I would describe it. When I got asked to be in the 12 for Pulse, obviously I was so excited, but I didn't necessarily know what it held for me. I didn't know what it looked like in terms of court time. I just was so excited to be in a team full of internationals, full of different styles of play, and literally just learn from everyone. And then obviously when we then arrive at the season, obviously I've been playing probably a bit more than people may have expected me to play, or even in myself. And even just like taking each game for what it is, and just the learnings that I've brought with it, like genuinely from looking at the opening weekend back in Nottingham to now, it's like insane to me how like much things have changed and how much I feel like I've grown as a player, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been a pleasure watching, and you know, I kind of pride myself on the ins and outs and knowing things. And I saw you arrive, debut, and I was like, who is this kid? This one I'm interested in. And I mean, it's been incredible to watch your season. We'll come on to the club and the support at the moment. Now, without us doing that condescending thing when we used to play, do you remember your first semi-final? Do you remember getting into the finals for the first time? I mean, I don't think I could.
Yeah, I think it was versus Wasp. Was it not versus?
Oh God, was that when it was? Yeah, because that's when Loughborough. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I think I do remember that, and kind of love that rivalry that we always used to have versus Wasp and that kind of Midland thing. So I do remember it, but not fully. And I actually would love to sit back and actually watch some of those games well. But we did lose, so maybe not. Maybe I can look back now and watch them.
Yeah, and well, it's a hard one, isn't it? Because I was talking about this earlier, that sort of best day, worst day feeling on semi-finals, because you kind of put everything in to win this game. Because once you're in the final, it's a bit more sort of... you can relax. Do you feel that now? Do you feel you can relax going into a final once you've made the semis?
Yeah, 100%. I would argue that. I think the semi-final kind of builds it up, and you're all trying to get there, make that top 2. So I think you're right. I think once you get to finals, it's the chance just to enjoy it and kind of embrace it all. But I suppose what will be quite nice this year is having kind of the 2 weeks apart. I think that'll be kind of really good. So if you do kind of make that top 2, you can really enjoy it and tactically really work on it and be fitter and not as tired going back to back or having one day rest. So I think most teams will be really looking forward to that second week. But you're right, you've got to get through that. You've got to get through semi-finals, through that knockout round.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely the body will appreciate that week's break. Izzi, let's talk about you then, because you must be absolutely buzzing. I read an article, and I love this, that you couldn't get tickets to last year's finals. So you missed it, because you've been in the Pools Pathway since you were 13, but you couldn't get tickets to the final last year, and now you're going to be playing in the semi-final.
I mean, if I was making bets, I would be like very rich with the odds to that. Like, I just can't, like, genuinely. It's such a full circle moment. And I think it being my debut season and then getting all the way to the semis as well, I feel like it really adds like the icing on the cake to this whole, we've had the regular rounds, and now this is really the pressure moments. And also like seeing how I get to respond in these high pressure moments where I may not have like stereotypically been in or experienced before. And I just think, wow, like looking back, I can't believe it.
Did you watch him on telly?
Yeah, and I remember heart was breaking slightly. We had that lead, but you know, we don't really like to talk about it. We're gonna hopefully change history this year.
We will get to this point where you get to go at each other. Do not worry, we'll set you both up. Let's talk. So Izzi was really open there, Nat, about sort of that inexperience going in, and you learn on the job, but it's about the people around you as well. You are one of the older, more experienced players in your side. But actually, you've got a few, your Bettys and your Ellas. And yeah, there's a whole group of you that have been together a long time, Hannah's. Do you get away with more now you're older in the team?
Oh, God, you'd have to ask Vic that and the other girls, won't you? You'll have to ask the young ones if that's actually true. I don't know. I'd hope not. And I suppose for me as a player, I don't want that. I wouldn't want to be getting away with things or having that leeway. And I'd want to make sure if I'm on the court, I'm not performing, that I can still get nicked off as well. And it's players like Izzi that are coming through, these young ones that do that. You know, we had the likes of Bella that sat there on the bench, and for me, she's just phenomenal young centre court coming through. So she pushes me every day to make sure I'm performing, so I know she can come on the court. So I hope I don't get away with stuff. Maybe a little bit more rest with the legs. Training, maybe that sense. But hopefully not. I still want to get shouted at and pushed, and it's what's happened since I was younger. I think I thrive off that from a coach. So I think we still get that.
Absolutely. Izzi, for you, the younger, do you get like the whole, oh, you can bring the balls, Izzi? Oh, you can do that, Izzi? Is that what happens?
Yes, I agree. I think my age has been used for a lot, but it's always the teammates. It's not even the coaches. It's the teammates that are getting through. But you know, I'll take it. I'm the young one.
It's like little sister syndrome, isn't it? I have Casey and Jamie. There's 6 years between them, and Jamie bosses Casey around a lot. Is that have you got any name and shame? Do you want to name any of them now?
For me, considering she's not even that much older than me, like to self-proclaim her as my auntie, but well and truly, we're closer in age than a lot of people on the team. So I'm bringing this to the sky so that everyone knows that this is not the case.
Oh, I love this. We are dishing the dirt. Fumi, if you're listening, auntie, what? This is mega. This is absolutely mega. Let's talk a little bit about that leadership then, because the positions you guys play, you're both centres, but you're both comfortable wing defence. Actually, it's probably been the other way around with some of it as well. But that role in a squad is key. It's absolutely vital. Not only how involved you are as a centre, but as a wing defence, how much you have to lead on centre passes and vice versa. Now, you've had that role for such a long time in that side. Is that still something you absolutely cherish? Has it been good to have someone like Bella to be like, right, you said she's pushing you to sort of go, right, actually there's new things being brought here, or are you happy now to sort of relinquish some of that control as well?
I think this year is the first year I've started to do that a little bit more based on last season. I think up till then, I think I was very much like wanted to always lead and be the best and speaking a lot. And I think it's something I've got better at probably, the last 2-3 years and even more this year. That just kind of easing some of that off a little bit and loving the fact that I can lean on some of the younger players and come to them and we're coming to each other more. And I think last year made me open up as a person, a player, and be more relaxed on the court. And I think I am starting to do that now and actually enjoying that different type of role for me personally. So, and I think the likes of Bella, like you say, does do that for me. She pushes me, she makes me perform. And if I can get that starting bid, that's because of her and her making me play better. But I think you're right. As I've got older, I've started to relinquish it all and use all the voices, use people, and not be having to see as the person all the time that has to be 110% every single day, because you just physically can't. But I think you get used to that as you get a little bit older and kind of relying on other people more.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because you can't imagine that as a young player, but it just sort of generally happens. Quickly before I go to Izzi then, now on that, is there parts of your game as well where you've kind of gone, this is where I'm at, but actually these are the bits I can still add? Because I always say this, the shiny new comes along and we all get very excited, but you can't take away from the fact that there's a whole group of older players that are regularly consistent and brilliant. Do you feel there's still parts in your game to come?
Oh, 100%. And I think last year I looked at like my feeding was something I really wanted to work on. And I think for us with Mary, obviously you get a lot of that connection with goal attacks and wing attacks and that 1v1 into the circle. And I suppose maybe it was a few years where I felt like I did just sit back and allow that to happen and kind of just became like I was like feeding it to the girls to give to the shooter. Whereas I think last year I kind of looked at my game and I thought, no, I want to be on the stats. I want to be just me looking as a confident feeder in the release point and someone that can put the ball in confidently. So, I think that's the reason why I want to keep playing and keep performing, and I can always get better. So there's still things this year I've been working with the coaches on, but I think last year was definitely like a light bulb, was massive for me to start looking into that attack end and be more confident with it.
I mean, if there's a perfect time to do it, be the week before finals, playing against another top 4 7 stars and whacking 34 feeds, Nat, which you did last week. So that isn't bad. Izzi, for you then, let's talk a little bit about this leadership role. You've had that captaincy role at England under 19s. So you've had that opportunity. And I kind of find in the pool squad that you've all got a voice. It all seems to be heard. Liz Scholes actually spoke so highly of you. She's like this 17-year-old kid that just comes and tells us and does and that. So is it fair to say you feel quite comfortable in that?
Yeah, I think again it's something that's definitely like progressed through the season. I think I've been so lucky again having Zara behind me calling what we're doing on centre passes, also Liz who takes complete control of the attack, which I think has been really helpful. But almost like Nat said, it's been across that season realising, oh no, I also have that voice. And I think now I feel like I've really built the trust and built the connections to be able to really speak up like with my team. If we're in different combinations, it's now we're bouncing off of each other, we're bringing more ideas. And I feel like across the season you can definitely hear my voice more, and I feel like it's really just added to my game as well, because I feel like when I'm speaking, when I'm talking, it makes me feel like I'm more in the game and ready to attack, defend, whatever it is, as opposed to necessarily just relying on some of those people behind me to bring those calls. So I really feel like that has helped my game as well.
Here's a little quick one. Do you guys have banter with the opposition? I mean, Nat, you always know I always had something to say constantly on court. Are you two like that?
I think I'm like I said before we started. I think I'm busy running up and down the court. If I can take a minute on circle edge, get a little breath, maybe a little 1-2 joke or something. But
I don't think we isn't had that yet, have we? Not at the time, but I have had a few battles in my time there. And actually, when Niamh came to us from obviously from Severn, she did say that I had a little bit of a word with her about her like delaying play a little bit last season. So she's like, "Do you remember this comment you made last year?" I was like, "No, sorry, really sorry. What's the team now?" So apologies for that little word on the circle edge to you.
That makes me laugh, because you always do this and then you end up being teammates with somebody and you are like, oh yeah, sorry about that. There is a very funny story, you will appreciate this, Nat, with Sarah Francis Bayman, who when she was in the Sirens team, she made a comment about their banter being as dry as biscuits, and which she was in their team, and Emily Nicol always brings it up with her and she's like, it cut me so deep, and so I was like, you know, and you do have to. Izzi, here's a little learning tip for you.
Yeah, it's quite.
It always comes back to bite you. So just own it. Talk to me then a bit about Izzi, about big girls netball, right? Because this is what I always say to the youngsters coming through. You get into that training environment. It isn't a development league, you know. NSL, where it's moving and where it should be the best of the best. So you got to earn it as a kid, and you've certainly done that. What have probably been a couple of the standout things that you were like, whoa, this is different this year?
I think, first of all, even just the intensity stepping into training, when you've got the likes of Fumi around, when I'm trying to feed the ball into the circle and she's jumping left, right and centre, I think the intensity, sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm just doing court sprints because we're just going up and down, getting the ball back. But I think that's already stand up. Everyone wants to push themselves. And again, that drive isn't coming from the coaches, it's coming from the players. We're the ones pulling ourselves in if we're like, do you know what, actually, that set of passes, that wasn't good enough. And I think it's that personal accountability to push each other rather than relying on like an external source, which has really stepped it up. And alongside that, I think also just all the extra like trainings, the S&C sessions that we all have together. I think we very much did that in our own time before, whereas now there's a big focus of being as a team, stepping it up, showing each other, and I guess just that personal and team responsibility to really raise our standards, which I really liked, because I feel like it just added more discipline into my game and how I'm playing, because it's made me go to places that I didn't even think was possible before. So yeah.
Right, it's funny because it's things that you kind of think you know until you're in it and you're like, oh, hang on a second. Now I want to talk about the stability at Loughborough, because I'm intrigued. Like I checked with Hannah the other day when we did our interview with her, and we were sort of like, it's the only club you've been at. Like, it's literally the only place, and you've become so familiar as a group. Has that been a conscious choice between you all? Because, you know, I laugh about it now, but when I moved clubs, I used to go, Rach, you coming with me? You know, you do get your kind of security blankets, and it also helps hugely with success.
Yeah, I think you're right. I kind of look back, even when the club said 150 for them, I was like, I literally came to the Midlands signing a 1-year contract with Karen, hadn't played netball for 4 years, did not see this happening, or thinking I was going to still be playing netball now at 33. But I think you're right. I think it is the stability and the friendships that we've made there, and that connections, obviously the coaching staff, having, I suppose, Karen there and Liv Murphy being there, obviously massively drew us all in and kind of still does now. And I suppose when Sarah came, somebody having that experience, that fight, and I think she took us to that next level of actually believing we could do it and being a bit ruthless. I think we missed that until she came and kind of just like someone who has won. So I think she kind of left that mark behind, and then Vix picked that up and learnt from all of them. So I think you're right. I think for us, we are comfortable there, and it's something that we want the coaches to keep pushing us, but the familiarity that we have, and I hope that when players have come to the club, they've also come because there will be players there who know how to get over that finishing line and make finals. So yeah, I think for us as a group who have been there for a while, never expected it, didn't expect to still be there, I suppose now, but feel very lucky to still be wearing the dress.
Could you imagine walking into another changing room now?
I do actually picture, like, what would this be like, guys? This is just literally like, I'd be like moving house. I would just be like, into a new family, adopt me. But yeah, who knows? Who knows what the future holds? And I suppose we'll roll out a contract, aren't we, in literally 2 weeks' time. So yeah, we will see.
So Izzi, I love that idea of the kind of family feel, and it's been pretty much the same at Pulse, like coming through the ranks. A lot of you bought in when Pulse started, that shiny new club, everyone got involved in the pathway, and it's kind of transitioned into the senior squad as well.
Yeah, I think being part of a pathway, like you said, since I was 13, I think not only now getting the opportunity to train with these girls, but I've also been alongside on the other courts watching them train together, and I feel like we've always been a part of with each other. Like they've always been around. They've always said, hey, even if I'm not necessarily on their team at that point, I feel like there's been a real sense of building the community from young. And I think then stepping into it this year, it's kind of continued. And I've stepped into a family that already exists. A lot of the girls have been there for such a long time. So again, it just feels like home. It's that we're a London club. Those are our values. We really enjoy training together. And I think being there, I just think it adds to our netball because we just know each other so well. So it's kind of like we've built those connections despite being a younger team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and stuff like that matters. Like you can't, there's some quick fixes you can do, and you can't, and there's some other things that just take time, just take experience. But getting on, being a part of each other's lives like that, that is just invaluable. Let's look ahead to the semi then, because it is very exciting. That will come to you first. There's probably a little bit of pressure on because you haven't beat Pulse so far this season. I mean, and you can't get away from that because it's always nice to just be a little bit comfortable. But how is the camp feeling?
Yeah, you have to acknowledge it, like you said, and we've had to review and had some tough conversations and kind of video analysis and look at all those things, which I think has been good for us this week. But like I say, it is definitely going in, feels a bit more of a clean slate. I think with finals, and I think all 4 teams will probably be saying that. Just kind of anything can happen on the day, can't it? So you have to go with that attitude on both sides. So I know probably Pulse will probably feel quite confident going into the games, having 2 wins. And then for us, we have to kind of look at them this week and see what we can change and do different from the 2 opportunities that we had with them before. But yeah, I think a lot of it is now new slate, kind of goes kind of everyone's at 0-0, and it's just got your opportunity on Saturday to try who can perform the best for 60 minutes.
Izzi, talk to me about those bragging rights then, because you have a little bit of bragging rights heading in with the 2 wins under. That also comes with its own added pressure though, right? Because it's a bit like, well, have you got more to show them? Is there something else you can hit them with?
I think it shows the belief in ourselves. Like we've had those 2 wins, so we can go in trusting our abilities and knowing what we've done. But also it's safe to say it wasn't a big blowout. They were very much goal for goal games, both of them. So I think it also, the same way how Nat's talked about going in, doing our analysis, looking at what we can pick apart of each team, we're very much the same. As much as we're going in with the confidence and the belief in the backing of our team and everyone that's helped us get there, we also have a point to prove in wanting to show that we can do it for a 3rd time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was at the game. We covered it on Sky when you beat them the first time. You saw the emotion from the team, and and it's special, those little bits, because it's like we can do this. There's a bit of a belief. Now, I want to touch base with you as a season pro at this. You guys are the 2nd semi-final. Is there nerves that come with that as well? Will you be keeping? Is it like the football where you keep your little radio on and just checking the scores? Because I remember we played a semi. We were the first and we got over the line and we were the underdogs. We beat Mavericks at Surrey Storm, and then we came upstairs and watched Thunder play it was different with Storm, but anyway, we came upstairs and watched Thunder play Mavs, and we were like, oh, Mavs won, oh, this is brilliant. So do you keep an eye on that, or is it just like, nah, I don't want to know until it's finished?
I think it's different. I quite like to keep an eye on it because I quite like watching netball on the day, which is really weird on game days. I kind of do like to become a bit of a netball nerd on that day. I kind of like to watch like Suncorp and things. So I think for me, I probably will be watching, having a little nosy what's happening over there. But I know for some players it'll be like absolutely do not even have it on loud, do not have it kind of playing near me. But I know I'll be having a little wander to see what's happening, definitely.
I'm going to check the schedule and make sure it's not 5 a.m. a Suncorp or night. You might need to get a sleep in.
Yeah, she's still awake. Get to bed.
No, just absolutely no. Izzi, talk to me about the analysis then of Loughborough. Both of your coaches talk highly. Sam Bird will often say, give credit to how much the work the analyst has done in terms of preparing for the game. Is that something you've kind of really relished this year?
Yeah, I feel like, again, it's helped us step up our game so much, because I think our analyst, Rory, he makes all these reports looking at individual things that I may not have even noticed the first time that I've done my own analysis, and then being presented it back in those forms to look at the small 1%ers that we can change in our game that can obviously try and help counteract what they're doing. I think it just makes such a difference. And again, it gives us things to work on within training that are small fixes, but again, we just may not have been aware of. So I think going over, looking at the analysis, making our clips, even if it can be a bit tedious sometimes, I think it really is the difference of what makes us go, like, hopefully, and take it all across the line.
Now, we know when it gets to this stage, it is the little bits that matter, the preparation, all those kind of, we know it's going to be pretty much a goal for goal game. We know that to break each other, there's going to be those little nuggets. Is there things over the years that you found that this is more helpful than others, whether it is analysis, whether it is a different kind of session in the week, whether it's the pre-match, like, is there something there that you like, right, this is what we'll do this week and this will help?
I think for us, it's something that's been familiar the whole year, and we kind of do the same. So we try not to make those changes or feel like to make it too different. I think for us, it works better when we kind of do the same structure, the same fun warm-up games, the same kind of video routine. And if anyone wants to do anything different, it's more individual. I think that's what we found work for us as a club. To me, not making anything feel like we have to train for more hours, get another extra session in. There's none of that. It'll be the same structure. I think that's kind of worked for us the last kind of 2-3 years going into finals. So I think for us it will be very similar. But I know there's obviously a lot of girls, like Izzi said, doing a lot of individual analysis, video, using the coaches. So I think that probably raises a bit more this week maybe. But I think actually the structure of our week will stay very much the same.
All right, well, here you go. Last opportunity then, fighting talk. Izzi, because you are the youngest, you can decide whether you go first or second. What do you want?
I'll go first.
I love already fighting talk, Nat. She's coming at you, so go on then. What are your words of wisdom before you head into this weekend?
I think we're just going to stay cool, calm, collected, stick to what we know, back each other, and just trust in ourselves and our belief, and just get ready to display that on court on Saturday.
Bring it on. Go on then, Nat. What have you got for her?
Yeah, I think for us, just the belief, enjoy it, relish the moment. And like it says, you've got to go out there and leave everything on the court, be absolutely fearless. And I have no doubt that both sides will do that on Saturday.
Well, for the spectator, for all of us ready to watch this game, we cannot wait. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, no pressure from us, but we're expecting a pretty good game, an epic proportions of semi-finals. I, for one, am super excited. So good luck to both of you. Thank you for entertaining us all year, and may the best team win.
Thank you.
Thank you.